welcome to
Hello.
Worthy Wednesday.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
How y'all doing today?
Doing good.
Wonderful.
Feeling great. Yeah.
Awesome. I love to hear it. Let me just make sure we got all the things working today. The internet. Okay. All right, y'all. So listen, welcome back to Wealthy and Worthy Wednesdays. We are here each week at 12 Central, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are, listen, having all the conversations about how high achieving women, high impact women, high earning women can live and lead from a place of worth and wealth, right? So we are using this time to really tee up for our first community event, which is happening this August in Atlanta, the Wealthy and Worthy Mastermind. It will be August 21st through the 23rd. So if you have not yet, make sure you go to wealthyworthy.org and get your tickets. Early bird tickets are still on sale. All right. So today's discussion is for our women who may be feeling super successful, highly capable, doing all the things, right? But something just feels a little off, right? It's not necessarily broken. It's not maybe bad, but it ain't quite right either, right? And so the question that you may be pondering or even whispering, to yourself is like, do I push through right now? Or do I need to pivot? Do I need to do something completely different? Right. And we raise this conversation today because we know that as high achieving women, we are taught, conditioned to push no matter what. We push through discomfort, we push through resistance, we push through uncertainty, right? Like if you're keeping it real, right? That strategy has actually probably worked for you. Right? And it probably got you here. But what we recognize is not talked about enough is that sometimes what feels like resistance is actually misalignment, meaning that you are not in the place doing what you actually really want to be doing.
Mhm.
And sometimes what other people externally may see as strength is actually overextending. You overextended. And so today we're going to slow down a little bit. All right. And we're going to tap into something that we don't talk enough about in professional settings, and that is discernment. Right? And I know many of you are probably used to hearing kind of the word discernment in more spiritual, religious kind of context, but we want to talk about it as a principle that can be used in your career and in your life, right? So today we're sitting with the question of how do you tell the difference between a hard season that requires you to grow and an environment that no longer fits or supports who you've become, right? So we want to be able to evaluate compensation versus contribution. All right. Now, as a scientist, listen, we got to define those things, right? So as we're thinking about that, right? Compensation, how much you're getting paid, right? But contribution is what value is it bringing to you? Right? Does it align with your values even, right? And so how you think about the timing by which you may exit some of these scenarios without making it emotional, right? Because when you respond or react out of the emotion, you generally have to have some time or you come to a place where you actually have to recover from that somewhere down the road, right? Because you made a decision out of emotion purely being reactive and not actually responding to what's in front of you, right? And so what we want to be talking about and offering up for you all today are some ideas around how do you recalibrate, strategically, right? Instead of just reacting emotionally about what's happening or what's come up or what's feeling a little bit off, right? So the reframe that we want you to be holding on to today as we think about this conversation of when do I push, when do I pivot, and how do I know the difference? How do I discern the difference, right? I want you to be holding on to the thought of like, I'm recalibrating so that I can move with precision, right? So we're not just like blowing past it full steam ahead, pushing through it. No, we're pausing, we're slowing it down a bit, we're recalibrating so that we can move forward with precision, right? And that's not failure, it's not quitting, it's not blowing up your spot and starting over. It's what we call alignment.
Right.
Okay, so you're giving yourself that time and that space to get back into position so that you know the direction, right? Because it's not about speed, it's about direction and having that clarity, right? So if you've been feeling stuck, if you've ever felt stuck, right? Or maybe you're questioning whether you should stay, shift, or leave, the conversation today is especially for you. All right, ladies? So that was a bit much, but this is a heavy conversation, right? It's gonna be a juicy one today. All right. So let's jump in. All right. So when we talk about kind of that misalignment, right? When something is feeling off. And y'all, we don't have to explain this because y'all know exactly what we're talking about. You know the whisper when something does not quite fit and you can't quite put your finger on it, right? So when we think about this, ladies, right, and you're working with your clients, right, how do you go about supporting them and figuring out and telling the difference between true misalignment, I'm not where I'm supposed to be right now or where I really want to be, or just coming up against a hard season that may require them to just, bear down and do the thing, right? Let's start with you, Tiana. How does it, welcome back, by the way.
I'm so happy to be back, y'all. I missed you, ladies.
Missed you.
So glad to have you back.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that. Yeah.
So how does this show up for you in relationships when something feels off but hasn't fully broken? And let's start with friendships.
Ooh. I think one of the most, well, in my experience, just personally and mentoring other women, you're saying how does it show up in relationships as it pertains to, give me more with that question.
So the question is, where do you support women or how do you support them in understanding the difference of if it's just misalignment, like this ain't working, this is not going to work, or if it's just like, we just maybe hit our hard season and we need to maybe like work through it and push through it.
Okay. So I think in relationships, it can be quite tricky, right? Because the level of relationship matters. So like, is this a person that's just, in your life for just this little season, or is this like a lifelong thing, right? Just determining that off the jump is important, right? After that, we talk about like what really is the issue, like what is the thing that keeps rearing its head that y'all can't seem to overcome or whatever. And is it because there is dysregulation within the relationship? Is it because you guys don't have communication or you don't know how to communicate, like what you're feeling, what the other person may feeling? Are you open to receiving constructive criticism about yourself? Is that a thing? Are you able to articulate when something hurts you or a person is doing something that maybe is not in alignment with how you like to be treated as a friend? I think that oftentimes too, what I'm running into a lot now is women who, because they're so busy in their corporate lives or their entrepreneur lives or their family lives, don't really know how to have relationship with other women because they're so consumed with everything else that they don't have the time or they don't make the time for them, right? And so
Okay. Pause really quick there. Okay. So when you say, so you said two things. You said they're super busy and they don't know how. Do
So
you
the
see
thing,
those things as
yes,
the same, or do you see those as different?
no, absolutely not. It's not the same.
Yeah.
The,
Okay.
the
Okay.
issue is typically not, well, the busyness is the issue, but the problem that we have is that we don't know how to sit and organize and self-regulate our whole system, right? So we become the system. We become the person that does everything, that takes on everything, whether if it's asked of you or not. We become the confider, the counselor. We become the errand runner, and we do all these things, and we ourselves become the system that everybody depends on, right? What you're doing is you're not allowing yourself, first off, because we're not put on this earth just to fulfill ourselves, right? We're not, right? But what we do in busyness is we feel like and we think that we're showing up, and we're really not. We're just busy. Because my question is, if let's just say I'm busy and I'm doing all the things, like I'll take my youngest son, for example, Elias. Elias is 14 years old, right? Elias has a lot going on right now in his little world. Okay. He's got friends. He's outside all the time. He's regulating emotions, all these different emotions that these teenagers around him are now experiencing. He's got basketball. He's got all these things going on, right? And me as a mom, I'm like, okay, what time we got to do this? What time we got to do that? Okay, I got to have you this. Okay, I got to do dinner. I got to do this. Not taking time to just sit down with him just one-on-one. Hey, babe, what's going on with you? How's your day been? How does that make you feel? How did you navigate that? Did you like that? Do you want to go and get some ice cream? Do you want like what are the things that you love to do? Because they're always evolving just like we are, right? If I'm just stuck in my busyness of schedules and this and this and this, am I truly, truly making connection? Am I truly, or am I just busy? And that's what I mean with busyness. Like, are you cultivating relationship, or are you just there taking up space?
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
that's what I typically ask them. What is your typical day? Let's talk about what your typical day. And another thing, people like to compartmentalize work, compartmentalize family, compartmentalize their own, self-work and things like that. And I tell them you can't compartmentalize it. All of it is a part of who you are. And when you compartmentalize, if I'm just worried about work over here, I'm not taking into account the energy it takes for me to do my homework, my housework, my work inside my house, relationally or physically. If
Yeah.
I'm not worried about my self-health and my self-work, then I'm not taking into account the time it took me to do my corporate stuff. Like, it all has to come in and blend in together. And from there, you create what's needed for you to have a regulated and more sustainable and happy life. You can't compartmentalize things. And I feel like we do that. Like, okay, I got this. And then a lot of times this compartment replaces this one because you didn't brought work into home.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
um
Yeah.
typically people are all over the place, or the women I talk to are all over the place, and they have no clue how to get this system in a place where it's working effectively for them.
Okay. I love that. Okay, so you start by having them pause, you ask them the reflective questions, have them orient themselves to where they really are, and have them take an honest look at how people are experiencing them, not just how they believe they're showing up.
Visually, I usually use a basket of dirty laundry as a metaphor, right?
Okay,
So you have this basket of dirty laundry, everything is thrown in there, right? My job is to come, dump the laundry basket out, and help you sort
got you.
so that things don't feel so meshed in and overwhelming and things. And we sort and we deal with each pile at a time.
Love that. I love that. All right,
Yeah.
y'all. That's good stuff. All right, Jay. When we think about the psychological patterns, right, that cause women to maybe stay too long or leave too quickly because they haven't been able to discern whether this is push through or whether this is pivot.
Mm.
How do you support women in that space?
I think whenever there is confusion, I challenge women to give themselves time time to observe what exactly the experience is. I think it is oftentimes invaluable to help women reconnect to what their experiences are because, like Talana said, they are so busy. They are so sort of bogged down with their various responsibilities and roles in life that sometimes they haven't taken time, like concentrated, intentional time to look at what is their actual goal, um, what is their intuitive inclination. You know, it's very difficult to listen for that when you are checking off boxes and moving through things in sort of a tizzy. So when we come to meet with one another, I'm asking them, you know, what's been going on in your life? What have been the specific patterns that you've been seeing? You know, oftentimes we can distinguish misalignment, you know, from a hard season, as you asked, because we can see that with misalignment, something is coming up, something is specifically coming up. I have an understanding, I know the value, but I keep, for the sake of comfort, letting the program run, not disappointing my family, not letting down my husband or my partner or my whoever, for the sake of still spending time with friends that I really love and enjoy or who have been just there with me for the last several years of my life. I'm choosing the comfort and the familiarity of those relationships, those connections, those things that I've been doing pattern wise over this like very clear inclination about what is actually right for me. Hard season is when we're inside of a space where we have chosen and things are coming up that are a consequence to our choice. And that is relationships are now breaking down. That is, you know, work is, I'm not the, where I used to be the stellar employee who did everything for the sake of the company. That now that I'm building my dream, my boss is saying to me, you don't seem as you don't seem as available to me as you used to. You don't seem as accessible as you used to. My husband might be saying, you know, where I used to feel like I was getting your full attention, now you're kind of split. You're sort of split out. I don't know why you seem distracted consistently. I don't feel that same level of attention coming to me that I did before. That's hard stuff. That's hard, but that is like we are
Yeah.
on mission. We are aligned and we're working towards the goal, and there are consequences in being focused and intentional, and that's painful and that's tough. But that's what we work through when I'm talking to the women who come in to see me. It's that it is not going to be easy ever for you to choose to be aligned in what you value. It oftentimes it can come with a lot of success. It can come with a lot of support from the universe, from God, from whomever you believe in, because you're on track and you've decided. And that's a big thing when it comes to moving forward. However, it's not going to come without consequences that are very difficult to endure as well. So we need to think about it. And it's not going to come without grief, right, from those losses, right? It's not going to come without stress from there being differences and changes in patterns. It's not going to come without, you know, at times you feeling different because you are changing and you are growing and shifting into something else.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that so much
Yep.
because I think what's so important for y'all to take away from this, right, is that no matter whether you push or you pivot, it's a decision and there are natural consequences that come with either side, right? But one side, right, is going to move you closer to what you actually want, right? You're leaning into the things that you say that you value and that are important to you, right?
Mhm.
And I love that you raised that point, Jay, because I have clients often that when we start to do the thing, they come back to me and they're like freaking out, right?
Mhm.
Because the world just blew up, right? And then
Mhm.
some of them have actually been mad at me, right? Like you just blew up my spot, right?
Yep.
And and I often have to kind of now like give a forewarning of like you're going to feel some kind of way.
Mhm.
However, comma, just because you feel some kind of way does not mean that you're not on the right track. It does
Right.
not mean that you didn't make the best choice. It does not mean that you're not acting in your own interest. All
Right.
it means is this is new, right? And remember, we talked about this a few weeks ago, right? Our brains are wired for survival and not success. So when you switch up the program, your brain is going to scream at you, this is wrong, something is wrong, this is not safe. You should retreat, right?
Yep.
You should
Right.
back down again because it's trying to keep you in that comfort that Jeannie mentioned, right? So it is not an issue or question of, am I making the right decision? It's a question of, am I willing to work through the uneasiness, right? And the discomfort?
Right.
And am I willing to be seen trying? Because for a lot of us, high impact women, right? We don't want to be seen trying, right? Because we may be a little wobbly, right? There may be
Right.
fear shed, right? Like it's a complicated and sometimes painful experience, as Jeannie mentioned, which is why you're not designed and created to do it alone.
That's right.
Okay, so
Say that again.
yes, you are not designed to do it alone. You need that support because it's the support that's going to remind you, hey, this is who you said you wanted to be. Hey, this is what you said you wanted. Hey, this is the goal that we're moving towards, right? To kind of remind you of who you say you want to be in the path that you say you want to be on. So you need that. You need those reminders, right? All right. So, okay, now listen. We talked about, right, how to get support and where to begin, right, and understanding the difference. And now I want us to shift a little bit to counting the cost, right? Because y'all may be hearing this, right? And you may even be one of the ladies that are feeling like, something off in this situation, but I'm gonna just keep pretending like it's not, right? And there's a cost to that. And so I want us to be very clear that there is a cost, because if you're doing anything and you're operating out of wisdom, count the cost, right? So, Tiana, what is the cost of staying too long in an it could be an intimate or just a friendly relationship? What is the cost to your own personal capacity when you stay beyond when you should?
The cost is you. Your well-being, your happiness, your peace, all of that is the cost. The cost is the people that you love the most. Good afternoon, Shania. LaShania Williams.
Hey, y'all. Oh, hold on. We got some folks in the chat. Hey, Penny girl. She back.
Okay, let's see. Misalignment in work is often overlooked because of the need for the compensation. In relationships and work, misalignment tends to become clear when outcomes consistently aren't what you want for or from out of your life, work, etc. You will have to decide in both situations. Ultimately, is comfort more important than clarity and purpose? We have to choose.
Come on. You
Okay.
always got a choice. Thank you, Penny, for reminding of the ladies of that. You always
Yes.
got a choice.
But the cost is great. I think about, I always think about the difference with the generations, right? And how we are just in general and what the season or the generation requires of us, right? So like for people who was going through maybe the major depression errors, or like for us, civil rights era, like it requires something different out of them than what we are there, than what we're required of today, right?
Right.
So for example, I know my mom's generation and generation before them, they were very results driven, right? There wasn't a lot of emotional intelligence. There wasn't a lot of emotional relational cultivation, right? And so what it cost them is what we're seeing today with the disruption between the family dynamics. What we're seeing is the cost of not being emotionally intentional, right? And so when we don't take the time to cultivate what it is that we say we love and we want, the cost is the emptiness and the absence of that very thing. So like if I'm not taking time right now with my children in their adolescence, to spend time to build a closeness and a relationship with them, to focus on the things that make them happy, and pour into them, and nurture some of the things and gifts that they have, then I can expect later to have a closeness. I can expect them to want to come visit mom every week when they have their own families. I can expect, and so I feel as though if we just can slow down, really take inventory of what's important to, like, what is really, like, when you're on your way out of here, what is most important to you? Will you be thinking about work? Will you be thinking about the assignment that your boss gave you last week? That's going to be the last thing I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about my loved ones. I'm thinking about my husband, my children. I'm thinking about my friends. I'm thinking about the things that I wish I had done that I didn't do. That trip that I wanted to take. And for me, it's not physically the trip, it's the memories that we create within the trip.
Yes.
Right. So that's more important to me. So for me, that's my focus. When I'm talking about making more money, I'm talking about making more money, not just to bless other people, but to pour into my family, to create memories that they will always have with them. Right.
Yeah.
And so though you have to really sit back and say, what's important to me? Because what's important to everybody is not the same.
Absolutely.
The value system that everybody holds is not the same. But what is that for you? And whatever it is, that is what you should be putting your time and effort to.
Love that.
Currently now, yeah.
Okay, Jay, we're going to pass it to you. What emotional signals show up when a woman has outgrown her environment? What do you see?
Oof. Well, sometimes when it comes to relationships, if we're going to speak to those, she experiences resentment when she's in an environment, and she is consistently giving in ways that she feels there should be some level of something showing up, and it isn't. She feels oftentimes very distressed. She feels frustrated. She feels, a lot of people describe their emotional experience as confusion. It's generally not confusion, because you know what you want, you know what you're seeking. They just have a hard time verbalizing that they're not in it yet. And so that they're disappointed, or that they're fearful about whether the decisions that they've made will actually yield, tangible dividends, and they'll actually see them manifest within their life.
Yeah.
It's a very distressing picture. And some women, because they are high functioning, as we talk about, right? They're these very determined, ambitious, if I just give more, it'll fix it. They experience immense amounts of anxiety as well. It's like, I've got to be more. I've got to do more. It'll change, even though it hasn't changed. It has not shifted one iota. It will change. So I'll just keep putting in, I'll just keep doing. And also, if there's a tiny bit of a shift, okay, that means, like if you've been working 1,000 times and there's a tiny shift, that's the light that I should keep going. I can just times that by 10. And if I times that by 10, maybe there'll be a bigger shift in that little, and it's very, it's extremely, when we're talking about the emotional experience, we have to remember that while women are highly adept at both, and don't let anybody tell you different, I just want you to know, women are actually highly adept at using both their logical brains and their emotional brains, because we've been taught to do both our entire lives. And we've been taught the value of presenting in the logical brain versus the emotional brain, because we are discredited when we show up in our emotional brains. Just want to clarify that. Okay.
Got it.
We are, for the sake of this conversation, we're talking about the emotional brain. And inside of the emotional brain, they're having these experiences that sometimes can refute the logical, which is, if I have seen very little movement, if I've seen very little growth, if I'm seeing my environment maintaining the same or changing only slightly with 8,000 pounds of effort, that means I need to stop. That means I need to recenter. That means I need to recalibrate and many times shift my energy to something else, not
Yeah.
continue to put my energy in the thing that continues to not shift for me. And that doesn't mean leave it. Let me be clear. It doesn't mean we leave our relationship. That doesn't mean it's not the relationship. It could just mean where you're trying to put effort into that relationship is moot. It's for that person to move, and there's somebody else or something else that is meant to move them, and it just may not be you. So put your energy elsewhere.
Why do
Love
you feel like, can I ask Jeannie a
Ooh,
question on
that's a good. Oof, yes.
Jeannie, why do you feel like that's so difficult for us? Like, so
For,
let's just say, like, let's just say in a scenario where you just said where, you may not be the thing that
Moves them.
that person needs in that moment, and pretty much you need to pretty much step back, right?
sure. Yeah.
What why do you feel like that, or why in your experience and your professional, setting, why do you
Yeah.
feel like we as women have such a hard time like shifting and actually aligning with that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's such a layered question, right? I can answer that in several facets. I think the
Okay.
first exists within the role, right? The role that I'm seeing myself in, the capacity is mother, is wife,
Mm,
is, you name it, right? And when I'm inside of that role, I have a very specific understanding of what that role is meant to be and meant
mm,
to do. And I'm
mhm,
I'm I'm going to live and die by that. So if I'm meant to mother, and my kid comes to me and there's something that I'm seeing in them that is not a reflection of who I raised them to be. Am I going to say, "Oh, let me just dismiss my kid and leave them out there to the wolves?" No, I'm
Right.
going to push harder.
mhm,
I'm going to say, "Oh, okay, this is for me to mother." However, there could be a wound that this kid is showing or a developmental stage that your child is showing up in that isn't for you to fill. It's for their friends to fill. So we could encourage them to go and seek friendship in this. Maybe it's a room, it's a space a mentor needs to fill, or it's a space their father needs to fill.
Mm,
We're trying to take it on, we're trying to resolve it, and we're trying to manage it when it needs to be totally delegated. But
mhm.
our role is hindering us from recognizing it's not us who has to solve all of the problems all of the time.
love that. Come on, that's good stuff right there.
And
Okay.
then there's
Okay.
the oh, it's okay. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna
Yeah.
say we got a question from the audience,
Oh,
y'all.
take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this discussion is so important for all women, but particularly younger women. Have you all experienced or noticed that when you're younger, less experienced, we tend to stay longer and try to push through the things more often? Listen,
Mhm. Yes.
guilty. Okay.
Because
I think
you just don't know. You just
no,
don't know. You just
Mhm.
as
don't
Bert
know.
says, just keep living, okay?
Yep.
Because
Tolerance is higher. Your tolerance is so much higher when you're
that's
young too,
solid.
because
Yeah.
we're hungry for knowledge. We're hungry for data when we're young. We're unsure as
Mhm,
well. It's like, wait a minute, I
mhm,
don't know this yet. And maybe I need to take time to learn it. I need to take time to give it space for it to grow within me. We're
And
we're still very tolerant.
we
that
hunger
is
for acceptance too.
Hmm.
much,
Exactly.
much more when you're younger. Yeah. I
Much
mean,
Yeah.
more.
I think that's something, I think that's just a human thing.
Yeah, it
I
is.
don't know that that's a woman, woman or
No.
young woman. I think
No,
that's
no, I think it is more so a young thing
Yeah.
because when you're younger, you are looking for acceptance like from your peers. You're trying to fit in, you're trying to figure out where you fit in.
Oh
But as
yeah.
you mature and you get older, you are very depending on who you are and if you've done your work, you're way more aligned in who you are
Oh,
and
yeah.
and,
I
and can
think we all
stand
agree it's
in
youth.
that.
I think what Tiana was saying is she doesn't think it's specific to gender. So she doesn't
yeah.
think it's
Oh no,
women
no,
per
no,
se.
not gender for
Yeah,
sure.
no, no, no,
But
no.
just
Like,
youth wise,
yeah,
yeah.
but
Like
youth wise, we're with
I
you.
know I was just like people pleasing all the way through life back
I
back in
think
the
I
day.
think it was this idea of, you had been, I don't know about you, but culturally, I'm a Black woman. I'm raised in a Black
Mhm,
family.
mhm,
And the matriarchs within my family, who I love very much, they're very strong women. They got strong voices. They have a
mhm,
strong sense of self intuitively, and they were always of this mindset that like children, you are a child, and I am an adult, and I know, and I know, and I know. So I think you get primed to that, and you're like, well, I don't
mhm,
know. They know, like, and if they're saying that this is the right thing to do, then it's
Yep.
the right thing to do. And if my
Yep.
elders are telling me something, then I should be listening to them and
mhm,
trying to fix myself into who they say that I should be. And
mhm.
some people aren't elders, they just got old.
Mm.
Well, that's the end of the discussion, okay?
Is there a mic I can drop? Do I have a mic I can drop?
That's the end of the discussion.
They're not more
ladies.
mature. They're not more developed. They don't know what's right for you. They don't even know what's right for themselves. They are
Fact.
elders. They just got old. They do not have the
Fact.
wisdom. They do not have the education. Okay?
Mhm.
And they will present to you as if they do, but they don't.
She
Jeez.
said they're not elders, they just got old.
They just got old.
Jeez.
And you gotta be discerning.
Amen to that.
Okay, listen.
That was a lot right there.
This has to be a part 2 because we barely got through any of the content for this discussion. Okay, so we're gonna do our closing round like we always do. All right, ladies. So,
Sure.
what should a high achieving woman remember when she's trying to decide whether to pivot or to push? What should she remember?
Okay, I would. This is easy for me.
Do it.
She has decided. In the moment that we decide, we need to find the evidence that the decision as a whole is a supported decision, and we find that when our work shows manifestation in some type of resolving way. So it could be I made the decision and then I feel this deep sense of relief. I feel this deep sense of trust in myself, or I feel this deep sense of that's the emotional, right? This deep sense of like peace in what I decided. That can be a huge signal that things are going well and I'm on the right track. It could also be that I'm seeing things shift, whether that shift is hugely positive or that shift is hugely negative. Sometimes when we make a decision that is aligned with our true purpose, it doesn't always come with everything being a positive shift. Some of the shifts are like shit starts breaking down. Like, y'all have felt it? Listen, I need you to understand.
2025? Yes.
I need you to understand that decisions are they can be very polarizing at times, right? And it's a great thing to have that polarizing situation. Sometimes you'll make a decision and it'll be so positive. You're like, yes, everything's wonderful. Clearly I was right. But sometimes you'll make a decision and it'll be so negative. I want you to understand that it is so right too, because you are going to go whatever direction, if you support that decision, that you are meant to go in it. So again, it could be things breaking down, friendships falling apart, relationships ending, jobs ending, terminating quickly, or becoming so intolerable and so uncomfortable that you have to walk away. Recognize that those two polar opposites, that sort of dichotomous living, is a part of also support. So that's what I would say. Like, examine the evidence. You know, when you're aligned.
I have a question with that, because you said if it's like a negative thing and then you walk into that, right? Could it be also that negative thing could be like something that was really like maybe I should not have done, but in that I'm learning from it and I'm growing.
That's the there's no right or wrong, right? I think this is why this is an issue for people as well, right? They're always of the mindset that I want to be right in the decision that I made. I want to be, and I want to see the evidence that I'm right. No, a decision is made and it is the alignment to your intuitive space and you honoring that intuitive space. So whether there is no right or wrong, you're going to get what you need. You're going to get what you need to grow. You're going to get what you need to change. You're going to get what you need to develop, and you're going to keep going. So when you make a decision and you're going for right or wrong, that's why people get so perplexed and they don't move, because they're like, it's going to create something. There's always going to be a consequence. Yeah. That's the point. That's the privilege of decision making, that we will have our consequence and then we will develop from the consequence. Some spaces are harder to develop from, some spaces are harder to grow from than not. And if you are seeking consistently comfort, if you are seeking consistently only positive outcomes, you will live a life where you are afraid to deal in the other space, in the shadow spaces that are very difficult, that are extremely growing of you. If you think about like when you're learning a concept and it's not easy, right? It's great when it's wonderful and it's all with ease, but when there's a struggle or when there's discomfort, we're like sort of fighting. But that's sometimes when you have the greatest pathway to growth. So people often avoid that, and it's it's rough. And also, I mean, I thought what I thought you were getting to, Tuan, too, was this idea of like sometimes even in that negative, it's sort of a positive. Like friendship breaks apart, and in the moment, you don't see it as you're like, oh my God, this is so bad. Like, I've
Devastating,
loved this person for so long. I've put so much energy into this person. How could this possibly be what's happening to me? And
right?
then you find out 2 years later, oh, wow, I was really holding that person back. Like, look at them. They're doing great without me. Oh my gosh. Like, we were like enabling each other.
Yeah,
I was
so good.
solving all their problems for them all the time, and I wasn't leaving any room for them to solve their problems for themselves. Look at him now. Wow, she looks fantastic. Or wow, he looks great and he's remarried and he's happy. Holy moly. Or you look at your own life and you're like, wow, they were really like a catalyst to some of the worst decisions I have ever made in my entire life.
Right.
And like, no shame
Right.
to them. You know,
Right.
I don't want to be hurtful, or I'm not trying to be a jerk in this, but man, they were not it for me. Not at all. Like that was
Yeah.
really very problematic.
Yeah.
So I thought you were gonna get to that space, but
So
I just brought
good.
it there just in case. But,
No, it's really that's
yeah.
really good. It's really good stuff. It's really good stuff. I have a lot of comments on my side too, you guys, but I know
Oh,
we're
yeah.
kind of at the end of time. But for me, I would say to high achieving women is that listen, I'm going back to one of the statements you made, Tiana, many lives ago, is that you are not the sacrifice. Like it's okay. It's okay to not be everything all the time. The solution to everything all the time. It is okay. It is okay for you to rest.
Yeah.
There, and I know a lot of us who are overachieving because I deal with this today. I have to fight through it probably almost every day that I try to get rest. Okay. When I'm resting, I feel useless. And I know a lot of people feel that way. When I say useless, these are feelings. This is not like my overall thought of how I feel about myself. I
Right.
mean, as I'm sitting, my mind is going 1,000 miles per hour saying, you could be doing this, you could be doing this needs to be done, that needs to be done, and I literally have to talk myself down. Right. And that is because we've been so conditioned to go, to go, to go, to go. So my advice or my comment to the overachieving woman is it's okay. You're not the sacrifice. Rest is a part of being ambitious.
Absolutely, it is.
You
Absolutely.
have to have it in order to successfully operate in your ambition. It's okay.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. It's okay.
It's
It's okay.
okay. It's okay. Sit down. Go sit down somewhere.
No, for real. My one piece of advice that I would leave for high achieving women is to remember to trust yourself.
Mm.
Just trust yourself. You know, you know. And like Jeannie said earlier,
Mm-hmm.
you may be afraid to say it out loud, right? You may even be afraid to admit it to yourself, right? Trust yourself
Mm-hmm.
because you know the way. You know the way.
You know it.
And when you don't, you betray yourself.
Yes.
And that's not what we want. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let's see. We got one more comment. Melody. Hey, girl. Melody says, yes, there's such a stigma attached to rest, much more so for women, it seems, but it is a non negotiable. Amen. Amen, girl. Yes. Listen. Rest is how you sustain being high achieving, being ambitious. That is part of your arsenal that you pull from, right? It is not an optional thing. Okay, like we will have another live about that. But we want y'all to understand, right? Like part of understanding and deciding and knowing when to pivot versus push is to actually pause, rest, take a moment.
Yeah, we are no longer being the sacrifice, like being the sacrifice of you end up being the sacrifice. Like I am literally in contact with women who are literally like losing their lives.
Oh,
Like their health is failing because we want to
Trigger
be
warning. Yeah.
one.
yeah,
No longer
yeah,
sacrificing our lives to be the one, meaning
yeah,
the one that has all the solutions.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I told you guys that is what made me want to do wealthy and worthy, right?
Yes.
I had colleagues die within a year of each other. They were not barely 50, and just overworked. They literally worked themselves to death.
Wow.
And what upsets me the most about it is that they were fighting and working and pushing to be what they already were.
Ooh.
And that is the part, right? That we want you guys to know and to hear. Like we're not just here for entertainment, okay? Like
That's
we are
right.
here on mission. Like you have to know, right? That you're chasing where you already are. You're already wealthy. You're already worthy, right? And we want to invite you into that space of not just knowing it intellectually in your head, but believing it in your heart,
And
right?
living it out.
So when we make that head heart connection, that is what gives us the power to move in authority, to move in decisiveness, to know automatically when it's time to pivot, when it's time to push. But when you're so bogged down and you're so convinced that this is the way to be successful and high achieving and ambitious, you miss it. And we don't want you to miss it. And so listen, we're here just saying we see you, we are you, right? Like there's no shame in it. The only shame is pretending like it doesn't exist and pushing through anyway. That is the shame. All right.
Yes.
So that's what we got for y'all today. This is a little heavy conversation today. And as always, right? If there are things that are coming up for you as a highly ambitious, high achieving, high earning woman, we want y'all to let us know. What do you want us to talk about? What do you want us to cover? What is important? What you sit with and wonder, like, how are other women navigating this? Like, right? Because we want to open it up, give it space.
That's right.
Add perspective to it, right? Give you some ideas, some starting places for maybe coming up with some solutions in your own life. And so the goal is always to help you all move forward. And so we love y'all and we're sending you so much love as always. And we will see y'all next week, same place, same time.
Go to wealthyandworthy.org and get your tickets for August in Atlanta, Georgia.
We'll see you there. We're so
Yes,
excited.
go get your tickets. And next week we are talking about breast cancer. All right. Next week is a special live. We're talking about breast cancer. We're talking about what life can look like after a diagnosis. And I am proof that God is who he says he is. So we want y'all to come join that conversation.
You're going to have me laid out on the next live.
Be encouraged by there'll be two other survivors on that live with me next week. We have an amazing and beautiful moderator, Ms. Naya, coming through to guide us in the discussion. And so we really, really want to see y'all there. We need y'all support. And we also are raising funds to give a micro grant to a survivor on that live next week. So I need y'all. Don't just be look-see-loos. We need y'all to vote with your coins and send some confidence to these ladies who are really fighting a battle that we can win and be victorious over. All right. So thank y'all again, as always, for tuning in. And I can't wait to see y'all next week.
Love y'all too. They're saying, let's go too.